Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Izuku was born a Todoroki part 1. If you guys enjoy this what if and want to see part 2, comment down below and let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content and leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also share this video with your friends and check out the description in my playlist. The author of the story 𝗧𝗵𝗲 𝗧𝗵𝗲 from Wattpad. So let's start the video. No one's 𝗵𝗃 Todoroki, also known as Endeavour, had always wanted to surpass the #1 hero, All Might. As he never succeeded, he figured that he could get his kid to surpass him instead. So he got together with 𝗧𝗓. As their first son, 𝗬𝗏 Todoroki, was born, 𝗓𝐺 started training him at the age of 2, thinking that his son would get a mixture of fire and ice. When 𝗬𝗏 was 3 years old, another Todoroki was born, 𝗵𝗃 Todoroki. 𝗬𝗏 got his quirk 1 year later. As it was almost the same as 𝗓𝗔's, the name being cremation, he wasn't satisfied. 3 years later, Natsuo Todoroki was born into the family. 𝗵𝗃 got the same quirk as her mother. The same happened with Natsuo. As they had almost gave up, 𝗧𝗓 got 𝗵𝗃 again, but this time it was different. Instead of getting one child, this time they got twins. One had red hair, Izuku Todoroki, and one whose hair was perfectly split in half with white and red, Shoto Todoroki. 𝗓𝗔 gave them the same training that he had given 𝗬𝗏, not even bothering to give the other 2 siblings any of that training. But something changed with 𝗬𝗏. His hair started to turn white and he started to get burns on his body. He tried to hide it from 𝗓𝗔, but when he found out, he said that he was a mistake, basically the same that he had told 𝗵𝗃 and Natsuo. When Shoto got his quirk, half cold half hot, 𝗓𝗔 started giving him a harder time training. As for Izuku, well, he had gotten the same quirk as 𝗬𝗏, cremation. Izuku looked exactly like 𝗬𝗏, red hair which had a white slide on his right side of his hair, and blue eyes. At first 𝗓𝗔 thought it was just going to turn out like it did for 𝗬𝗏, but to his surprise Izuku didn't get any burns on his body, or so it seemed. Izuku tried to hide the scars he was getting, and it worked. The only ones who knew that Izuku also got scars was 𝗬𝗏, being his favorite sibling, and Shoto. They both never said anything about Izuku having any scars, or at least not around 𝗧𝗓, Natsuo, 𝗵𝗃, or 𝗓𝗔. As 𝗬𝗏 noticed that he and Izuku had started getting more and more scars because of the training that he, Shoto, and Izuku were given by 𝗓𝗓, he had started to get annoyed. But that wasn't the worst that was going to happen. One day Shoto and Izuku was playing together and noticed that their mom was on the phone, then being curious as to who she was talking with, walked up to the kitchen. Shoto's POV, I feel like I'm going crazy, can't take it anymore. Every day, the children seem more like him. And Shoto, that child's left side sometimes looks unbearable to me, along with Izuku. All I can see is his father. I can't raise them anymore. I want to run away from this life. What are you saying? Me and Izuku said at the same time. 𝗧𝗓 slowly looked behind her back, right at me and Izuku, who had stood there the whole time. The kettle made a high-pitched sound, not sure what it's called, as 𝗧𝗓 grabbed it, along with me and Izuku. She poured the boiling water over my left side and Izuku's left side, most of it coming in Izuku's ear. No one's POV after that. 𝗧𝗓 was sent to a mental hospital, leaving 𝗓𝗔 alone with 5 children. 𝗬𝗏 couldn't take it anymore. His flames started to turn blue, and his hair had now gone to a pure white color. So he decided to fake his death by making it look like he had burned to death by his own flames. Izuku's POV, I woke up to see Shoto sleeping in his bed beside him. "Sho, wake up," I said as I lightly shaked Shoto, not so that it hurt, but so that he woke up. "Good morning, Zuzu," Shoto said as he yawned. "Good morning, Sho. Come on, we have to get an 𝐈𝐴-chan and get down to train, or else he will be mad," I said, a bit worried of getting shouted at. We both made their way to 𝗬𝗏's room to wake him up, just to see an empty room with no clothes on the floor like it usually was. "Nii-chan." I searched the room but didn't find him. Maybe he already went to train. Shoto asked. "Maybe. Let's ask Yumi if she knows." Shoto nodded. We both made our way to 𝗵𝗃 in the kitchen. "Yumi," I looked up at my older sister. "Yes, Izuku." 𝗵𝗃 turned to look at Izuku. "Where is 𝗓𝗓-chan?" 𝗵𝗃 gave him a questioning look. "What do you mean? Wasn't he in his room?" "No, we searched everywhere in his room but we didn't find him," I'll go look in the other rooms, 𝗧𝗏𝗧 said, standing up from where he was sitting and walking into another room. I can ask Dad if he knows, 𝗵𝗃𝗻 said. Me and Shoto nodded, and 𝗵𝗃𝗻 then walked away to ask our old man. A while later 𝗧𝗏𝗧 came back along with 𝗵𝗃𝗻 and Enji. I lit up a bit. Did you find him? I asked. 𝗵𝗃𝗻 looked down and 𝗧𝗏𝗧 looked at me and Shoto. No, he isn't here anymore, he said. But he's coming back, right? I said, hoping to hear a yes, or he will be back in a few days, but instead I got, you don't understand Izuku. He's dead. He won't be coming back. 𝗵𝗃𝗻 said with tears in her eyes. Same goes with 𝗧𝗏𝗧. Enji just stood there with no reaction on his face. Shoto started crying along with me, who cried more than anyone else in the house. 𝗬𝗏 was always the one who cared for me the most. He would always help me when I had problems with his online school, or my training or anything else. Now that he was gone, it felt like my heart was crushed. I wouldn't be able to see his smile anymore. I wouldn't be able to feel his hugs. Nothing. No one's POV after that day. Izuku stopped being the sweet little bean he always was, almost never happy, only around Shoto, and it wasn't even much happiness that he showed. And he definitely would never be happy around Enji, not after what he did this one time. Shoto woke Izuku up, reminding him that they would be late to train with their old man if he didn't get up. Izuku, who hadn't heard him, clearly said for him to wait for him outside the room and slowly got ready. Eventually Enji would drag Shoto to the room they were training cause Shoto refused to go before Izuku got there. Izuku's POV. I went to the training room, opening the door just to be slapped by Enji. I got more and more annoyed by Enji as he continuously scolded me for being a few minutes late. Stop, I slightly mumbled. What was that? Stop it, shut up, I said a bit louder, closing my eyes as I didn't want to hear anything else from that old man in front of me. Don't talk back to me, Enji said coldly. That was when I had enough. I said, shut up, you old man. I shouted. I didn't want to hear any more of this old man scolding me. I was only 3 minutes late, so why would it matter for him? 3 minutes late was everything he scolded me about. 𝗵𝗃𝗻 and 𝗧𝗏𝗧 came into the room to check if everything was alright. Is everything alright, Izuku? I heard you shout. What did you say to me? Enji said with a smile on his face, not just any smile, a smile that meant to kill. Didn't you hear me? I said, shut up, you dilly man. Go to hell. I shouted as I went up in flames. But it wasn't the old man's flames. Izuku. Shoto ran up to me. My flames pushed him away as they grew larger. I will kill you, I shouted to Enji, who looked at me with wide eyes. My flames are getting out of control. Why can't I stop them? I thought when I fell to my knees, crying as my flames burned my skin. Izuku, put your fire out, 𝗧𝗏𝗧 said with a worried tone in his voice. Two can't see control them, I said, screaming. Enji just stood there doing nothing. Him, an old man, could just help me since his body could bear the fire, as his body wasn't getting burn marks by his flames like mine. It could have at least told me how to put them out. I then noticed something weird about my flames. They turned blue. Why are they turning blue? My flames got put out after a while thanks to 𝗵𝗃𝗻, 𝗧𝗏𝗧, and Shoto. I fell into a worried Shoto's arms. That was the last thing that I remembered before passing out. When I woke up, I could see 3 worried siblings looking my way. I looked at them and their eyes widened. Izuku, you're awake, Shoto said, running up to me and hugged me tight. We're so glad that you're awake. We were so worried for you, 𝗧𝗏𝗧 and 𝗵𝗃𝗻 said, bringing us into a tighter hug. What do you mean? For how long did I pass out? I asked them. For 2 weeks. My eyes widened. 2 weeks, I said, quickly sitting up. There's something else you should know, 𝗵𝗃𝗻 said, pointing at the mirror. I looked at it and saw 𝗬𝗏. Wait, no, it was me. My hair had turned pure white. I looked just like 𝗬𝗏 now. Pure white hair, blue eyes, cremation as my quirk, and scars due to my quirk. I was a younger copy of 𝗬𝗏. Time skip. 9 years later, Shoto's POV. Me and Izuku were doing our usual training, me overusing my ice and Izuku passing out due to his flames. I hate that old man for doing that to him. When we were done with our training, I carried Izuku to our room. He hadn't gotten any new scars from his quirk though, which was a relief. Mayumi came up some minutes later to check if Izuku was okay. "Shoto, is Izuku okay?" she asked, walking up to the bed Izuku laid in. "He's fine, no new scars," I responded. Mayumi nodded. "That's good," she said with a smile on her face. "Shoto," I looked up. "Don't forget the UA entrance exam, it's in 3 days," she said, closing the door to go to the living room, probably to go tell Natsuo that Izuku was fine and didn't have any new scars. Izuku's POV. I woke up and saw Shoto sitting beside me. I knew that I had fainted because of my flames. Again. I sighed and sat up to look at Shoto. He was staring outside the window, more like spaced out. "Sho?" I asked. I knew that I wouldn't get an answer, so I shook him lightly. "What is it, Aizu?" he said, turning to me. "Wow, Nada, how are you this time?" I said mockingly. "What do you mean? I don't always have to say that, you know." "I know, I was just joking," I chuckled. Yeah, whatever. Mayumi reminded us about the entrance exam a few minutes ago, though you weren't awake at that time," Shoto said. "To be honest, I almost forgot about the entrance exam." Shoto stared at me. "What? How could you forget about the entrance exam?" he asked. I shrugged. "Well, don't we have to go to school?" I asked, trying to get away with forgetting about the entrance exam. "Oh shoot, Mayumi, have school started yet?" he shouted to Mayumi in the kitchen. "If you go right now, you will be just in time." I heard her shout back. "All right," I shouted back. "Come on now, Izuku, we have to get ready," he said in a slight hurried tone. I said, getting out of bed. No one's POV. When it was time for the UA entrance exam, Izuku and Shoto began walking to where the entrance exam was held. Shoto was recommended, but sadly Izuku weren't, so they had to split up, saying goodbye before Izuku continued to get to the entrance exam. At the entrance exam, Izuku met 2 other people named Ochako Uraraka and Tsuyu Azui. They talked a little before the exam started, though something seemed a bit wrong with Izuku. He always stayed on the right side of the two. Izuku, Uraraka, and Tsuyu ran between the doors as they opened. Just then a guy with short, dark blue hair shouted at them because they should wait until they get allowed to go inside. But Izuku just shouted back, telling him that a real battle doesn't wait. The entrance exam was going pretty well so far, with Izuku in first, a blonde guy in second, and Uraraka in third. As Izuku were using his quirk as much as he usually did with Endeavour, he was still worried that he would accidentally burn himself with his flames. After a while of Izuku worrying, he realized that he wouldn't get any more burns, so he stopped worrying and checked on how many points Uraraka and Tsuyu had. Everything seemed to go well for him, Uraraka and Tsuyu, or so he thought. The ground started shaking. Everyone looked up and saw a gigantic robot coming towards them. It was the one who was worth 0 points. Everyone started running away screaming, though something caught Izuku's eye and he looked over to see Uraraka stuck between some rocks. Izuku's POV. I looked behind me to see Uraraka on the ground. Her foot had gotten stuck between some rocks, so she couldn't get away from that gigantic robot. "Uraraka." I started running back before thinking of a plan to get her away. As I got an idea, I stopped and aimed at the robot. Blue flames started coming out of my hand and I burned the robot. The flames were as big as the robot, if not bigger. I ran towards Uraraka and helped her move the rocks, and then checked so she could stand up. She sat down on one of the big rocks. "Excuse me for a second." Uraraka moved a bit so that her back was facing me, and then something rainbow-ish thing came out of her mouth. I felt something on my hand starting to burn, but ignored it since it wasn't what I was worried about. "Is your foot all right?" "The rocks was pretty heavy," I said. She smiled. "I'm fine, don't worry. Thank you for saving me." "Oh my god, your hand. It's burned." I didn't hear her well at all, but she looked at my hand, so I think she was worried. I looked at my hand and saw that the flames that I made before to save Uraraka had caused burn marks. "I'm fine, it's just a little burn mark," I said. Uraraka still looked worried. "Sho's gonna kill me for this," I thought to myself. Shoto's POV. Me and Aizu had gotten home from the entrance exam. Aizu seemed to be avoiding me on the way home, which made me curious. He went straight up to our bedroom as I went to Mayumi and Natsuo. "Hey Shoto," Mayumi said. "Hey Yumi," I said. Do you two know why Izuku is ignoring me?" I asked. Natsuo looked at me. "Why would he ignore you? You two are literally inseparable," he said. "I know, but on the way home I asked him how it went and he didn't answer. He didn't talk at all. Maybe he's just in a mood or maybe something happened at the entrance exam. Shoto sighed. Maybe, I'll just go and ask him. I walked away to our bedroom. I opened the door and saw Izuku bandaging his hand. Aizu. I walked forward and now I saw why he was bandaging his hand. It had burn marks on it. Izuku didn't notice me and continued to bandage his hands. I walked forward and tapped on his shoulder. He turned around and when he saw me he hid his hand, but it was too late. I grabbed his hand and looked at it. I'm sorry, he said. That's a really bad burn mark, you know. He seemed confused at first, but then nodded. I know, you should be more careful, Izuku, or else you'll end up being covered in burn marks, I said. He chuckled and continued to bandage his hand. Am I not already covered in burn marks? He asked. I chuckled. No, because 𝗬𝗧 isn't covered in burn marks. Are you saying that I am 𝗬𝗧? He asked. More like a younger clone of 𝗬𝗧, I said, laughing as Izuku gave me a death stare and I stopped laughing. Hey now wait a second, I started. I would run if I were you, he said. I immediately started running for my life with Izuku running after me. We ran into the kitchen and Izuku jumped on top of me, causing me to fall to the ground. Izuku held my hands behind my back as I tried to get out of his grip. What's going on here? Natsuo asked us. He told me that I look like 𝗬𝗧. I almost shouted. But you do look like 𝗬𝗧. Hair, eyes, scars and quirk, 𝗵𝗲𝗎 said. I think Izuku realized that he actually looked like 𝗬𝗧 cause he soon let go of my hands and stood up. That hurt, you know, I said. Izuku again looked confused. Sorry. Izuku's mood changed at the blink of an eye as Endeavour came into the room. Izuku's POV as I saw the old man coming. I quickly changed my mood. I knew what he wanted. Shoto, Izuku, you two are coming with you to train, we know. Me and Shoto said. We both knew that he only came to tell us to come to train or to ask us if we have already trained. We followed him to the room we always trained in and me and Shoto started training, mostly doing our own things but still followed what the old man said as we knew what was going to happen if we didn't. After about 3 hours me and Shoto was exhausted because of the old man constantly telling us to work harder, even when we are working our hardest. When we were finally done with our training I was almost about to pass out. Luckily I didn't, though, because the old man now thinks that I have gotten better at controlling my quirk, even though it was only because I would stop using my quirk when he had to go for a minute and then use it again when he came back. Time skip. 2 weeks later, still Izuku's POV, my hearing had gotten worse, and it was irritating me. Though I didn't want Sho and the others to worry, so I hid it from them as best as I could. Me and Shoto was just playing together in our room when we heard 𝗵𝗲𝗎's voice from the front door. Izuku, your letter from UA came in the mail today. She shouted. I ran up to 𝗵𝗲𝗎 as she handed me the letter. Sho came after me and watched as I opened the letter. It displayed a screen with All Might on it, telling me that I passed the entrance exam. I was glad that he half yelled since I didn't hear well. I smiled and hugged Sho, Yumi, and Natsuo, which was probably the only time I would show many emotions. Congrats, Izuku/Aizu. They all said. When old man found out that I passed, he immediately gave me and Shoto much harder training, causing 𝗵𝗲𝗎 and Natsuo to worry about us even more than they already did. I started to get more and more angry at him as the days passed quickly, and I mean quickly, cause the next thing I knew I was standing in front of UA with Shoto beside me. We went inside and searched for 1A's classroom. When we found it we realized that it had a huge door. Why do they have a huge door? Sho asked. I don't know. I opened the door to see many other people talking to each other. I saw Uraraka and Tsuyu there and they came up to us and we talked for a bit and I tried to listen the best I could. So, how have you been? Tsuyu asked. Pretty well. How is your leg, Uraraka? Uraraka smiled. It healed long ago, thank you for asking. I gave her a quick smile before sitting down on one of the seats beside Shoto and behind a what seemed to look like an angry Pomeranian. Me and Sho talked for a bit before our teacher, or that's what he said he was when he walked in. Time skip. 1 week later, no one's POV. Over the past week Izuku and Shoto had made some friends. Izuku was hanging out with Shoto obviously, but also Uraraka, Tsuyu and Ida. Izuku didn't really like 𝐬𝐫 at first because of what he said at the entrance exam, but soon got used to the four of them hanging out. Of course, they hung out with their other classmates too, but 𝐬𝐢, 𝐬𝐫, Uraraka, Shoto and Izuku had made a squad, and they named it the 𝗓𝗂 squad. At first Izuku didn't really want to have the squad's name with the Deku in it because then that was directed at him and didn't have anything to do with the other four. But they all insisted to have it as the 𝗓𝗂 squad cause that was Izuku's nickname given by a friend in their online class. Not for Shoto though, he still called Izuku Aizu. Then one day they were going to a training facility aka the 𝗧𝗃. When they had gotten there they were met by 13. Shoto's POV: when we got to 𝗧𝗃 we met pro hero 13. Then one of our classmates, Kirishima, said, "Wow, you even have fake villains," and pointed at a mist portal where fake villains were coming out of. Those are not fake villains, I heard Mr. Aizawa say before he ran out to the villains. Then, all of a sudden, I saw the mist portal, a few of them appearing under us, making us fall through it. I found myself in a landside zone. I looked around and the first thought that came to my mind was, where is Zuzu? Is he safe? Izuku's POV: I fell into a mist portal to find myself, Tsuyu and one of our other classmates, Mineta, on a boat in the shipwreck zone. Where is Sho? Is he safe? I thought, looking around. My eyes caught something in the water. Villains? Tsu, Mineta, are you two alright? I asked as Tsuyu stood up. Yeah, where are we? Karo, Tsuyu asked. The shipwreck zone, and there's villains in the water, I said. Tsuyu looked down in the water and saw the villains getting closer. They're getting closer, we should get out of here, she said. I nodded. But where do we go? My quirk is weak to water, so it won't really work when the villains are in the water. Yeah, so then what do we do? Guys, why are there so many villains down there? Mineta shouted. How should we know? We got teleported here by that mist portal figure. What could his quirk be? I don't think we have time for this. We have to get out of here or the villains will get us. Tsuyu warned. I looked down and saw that the villains had started to climb up the boat. Yeah, let me just think of a plan really quickly, I said, sitting down to think for a moment. After a minute or two I had came up with a plan. I know what we can do, I said out loud, standing up. Well, it better be a plan that works cause the villains are soon here. Tsuyu said. Tsuyu, you use your tongue to grab Mineta, and I can try to distract them while Mineta throws his purple ball things at them to make them all stick together. Then Tsuyu swims around under the water to make a whirlpool. Great plan, but we should really hurry and get put of here. Yeah, Tsuyu, grab Mineta with your tongue and jump away from the boat. I'll distract them, I said. Tsuyu nodded and grabbed Mineta, jumping off of the boat. I jumped shortly after and making flames from my hands, getting the villains' attention. I shot my flames at them, causing them all to fall into the water. Now, I said to Mineta, who threw his purple ball at the villains, not stopping until he started to bleed from his head. Tsuyu, jump in the water. Tsuyu let go of Mineta and began to swim in the water, soon causing a whirlpool. I landed in the water as Tsuyu came. The villains had gotten underwater and were probably going to drown in a minute or so. Great plan, Izuku. It worked perfectly. Karo, Tsuyu said. You're welcome, I said. Then I saw something coming near us. A light blue-haired man with hands on his face and arms running towards us. I had seen his quirk right before we teleported. Decay, he can disintegrate anything with heat touch of 5 fingers. Realizing that he was going for Tsuyu, I froze. Tsuyu's going to disintegrate. Why aren't you moving, Izuku 𝗓𝗏? I thought. I just stood there doing nothing as the light blue-haired man came closer and closer to touching her. I imagined how the man touched Tsuyu's head and she'd disintegrate. But when he did, nothing happened. I looked behind the man and saw Mr. Aizawa using his quirk to stop him from disintegrating her. The so-called 𝗏𝗏 smashed his head into the ground as the light blue-haired man walked away. Then I heard someone's voice as they landed on the ground. I am here. It was All Might who had came to save everyone. Tsuyu and Mineta walked up to the others who had came back as All Might landed about 300 or more punches on the 𝗏𝗏. Are you guys okay? Uraraka asked. I nodded. How about you guys? We're fine. I then noticed that Shoto wasn't there at all. Where's Sho? Uraraka shrugged. I don't know, I wasn't teleported to the same zone as him. I hope that he's okay, along with all of the others. Tsuyu nodded. We all do Izuku Karo, she said. Time skip. 1 week later, no one's POV due to the 𝐒𝐻𝐽 incident. They were now going to move into dorms. Everyone got excited and sad at the same time. They would get to hang out with each other more, but they would only visit their families on the weekend. When Class 1A were packing their things to move into their dorms, they were excited to get to spend time with each other. They all waited for each other to pack up their things, which took about a day. Shoto's POV, most of us had already packed up and decorated their room. Izuku was first to be done, as his only took about 2 hours. Mine took 4 hours, so when Izuku was done he helped me unpack my things. And when all of us had unpacked, we went into each other's rooms to vote on which one was the best/prettiest. As they walked into Izuku's room and just stood there, they weren't shocked or anything, just stood there. I don't know why though. But your rooms look the exact same except the colors, Kirishima said. Izuku's room looked the exact same as mine, but why was that such a big deal? What do you mean? Can't we have rooms that look the exact same except the colors, or what? Izuku said coldly. The tone in Izuku's voice sounded like the one he spoke with at home, except this one was a little more of a kind and cold tone at the same time. No. Of course you can. I was just saying, Kirishima said a bit hurriedly. Izuku seemed to have calmed down after he heard that it wasn't anything wrong and that Kirishima had just said it as he thought it was pretty cool to have 2 classmates that had 2 rooms that were almost the same. We then chose a game to play before some of our classmates started to go to bed. Then it was just me, Izuku, Tsuyu, Ida, and Uraraka. Wanna do something fun? Uraraka said. It depends, what is it? Izuku asked. We could go rob a bank. She whispered. That sounds fun. I'm in, me and Izuku said at the same time. You two really are twins. Anyways, I'm in, Ida said. Same, Karo. We all put on black clothes covering our whole body except our eyes, nose and mouth, and then sneaked out of my window. Then we started running towards a bank, stole some money, got chased and escaped, went back to our dorms and fell asleep. Time skip. 1 month later, no one's POV month had gone by and the 𝗓𝗂 squad continues to do what they called fun things, such as robbing the bank, stealing things, though they weren't that valuable things since they don't want to get in that much trouble. Their other classmates have done a squad too, called the Baku squad, featuring Bakugo, Kirishima, Mina, Siro, and Denki. But the 𝗓𝗂 squad have been worried for Izuku for the past week. He had been showing less happiness to the whole class. Of course everyone in his class is worried for him, but mainly the 𝗓𝗂 squad as they were pretty close to each other. Another reason to why they were worried was because Izuku had almost lost his hearing completely. He heard talking as whispering, if not lower. Shoto's POV, our squad, have been very worried about Izuku for the past week or so. Well, our whole class has been very worried for him. They constantly asks him if he's okay or what's wrong, except me, since I know why he's acting like this. Or most part of it. Everyone. We're playing a game together after dinner. Mina shouted. Why would I do that, Raccoon Eyes? I heard Bakugo shout. Shut up, you angry Pomeranian, might as well do it since she won't let us get away. Izuku said. What did you just call me? He shouted back very loudly. At this point he sounded like my old man. I hoped that Izuku would ignore it, though he did what I hoped he wouldn't. Shut up. He shouted back with the same voice he shouted with at my old man. Izuku's POV, shut up. I shouted. Everyone was shocked, even Bakugo. Everyone was in shock and just stood there silent. I realized what I've done. He sounded so similar to my old man that I thought it was him, I thought. I saw Shoto coming towards me. Before Uraraka could even say my name, Shoto said, excuse us for a bit. Me and Izuku are going to my dorm room. Shoto took me to his dorm room where he shut his door after I came in. Sorry for shouting, I said. Don't be, you thought it was him and shouted back, he said. I didn't hear him and got worried that he would question it and I wouldn't be able to answer. Aizu, are you listening? He asked. See, could you repeat what you're saying? I looked up at Shoto. He looked at me with a questioning look. I asked you if you were listening, he said a bit louder. Oh, why yeah. I said. Great, let's get back to the others and eat dinner. I followed him out of his dorm room to the kitchen. Everyone was at the table and eating. We sat down on 2 chairs beside each other and talked with the others and eating our food. After that we went to the common room where Mina crouched down in front of a pile of games. "So what do you all want to play?" she asked, looking at a few games. "You haven't even picked a game yet." Bakugo said. "Well, no, it's better if we all pick one together so that no one complains later," she answered. "Whatever." Mina looked at the games. "What about Uno?" "No, that's boring." "Chess?" "It's only for 2 people." It continued for a while until Mina had gotten enough. "Why can't you all pick a game? It's been half an hour of saying no to every game here." "Can I look?" I asked. "I guess sure." I crouched down and looked at the game pile. I then noticed something on the shelf above and grabbed it. "Monopoly?" I asked. "That sounds fun," Kirishima said. "I agree," Tsuyu said. Everyone had agreed to play Monopoly. Of course, there could only be a limited amount of people to play, so we played in teams. After that, it was 11 a.m. and many was already asleep on the sofa or chairs or even the floor. The only ones awake was me, Shoto, Tsuyu, Ida, and Uraraka. We decided to not do anything tonight as we were pretty much half asleep. Good night, and with that, I went to my dorm room and flopped on my bed, falling asleep about a minute later. Time skip. One day later, Saturday, Shoto's POV. Normally me and Izuku would go home over the weekend, but for some reason Izuku wanted to stay at the dorms. Luckily we weren't alone. Everyone was staying at the dorms apparently, except Bakugo, so we wouldn't have to worry about loud screaming all the time. Everyone was in their dorm rooms even though we usually eat breakfast at this time, at least me and Izuku do. I walked out of my dorm room to Izuku's, opened his door and looked inside. "Aizu," I said a bit too loud. "What is it, Sho?" I heard him ask. "Do you want breakfast?" "Soba." He didn't really sound like he usually do. It's normally more of a bit happy and moody tone, but now it was just a sad and plain kind of tone in his voice. "Yeah, it'll be done soon then," I said, closing the door and went to the kitchen. Does this have anything to do with something that happened? I thought to myself. My eyes stopped at the calendar we had hanging under the cabinet in the kitchen. I looked at today's date. January 18th, wait, isn't that Tuya's birthday? No wonder he was showing less happiness than he usually do. He was always with Tuya wherever he was. "Todoroki, why are you staring at the calendar?" I snapped out of my thoughts. "Sorry, Uraraka, I zoned out. I didn't realize that I've been staring at the calendar this whole time." "Why are you in the kitchen anyway?" she asked. "I was just gonna make breakfast for me and Aizu." "Well, before I zoned out," I said. "I could help since I was going down here to make breakfast for Denki and Kirishima since they're very lazy." Uraraka said the 3 last words with an annoyed face. "We should make breakfast for everyone in the dorms then," Tsuyu, who just came into the kitchen, said. Uraraka started making eggs and bacon for everyone but me and Aizu while I made soba for me and Izuku. Izuku's POV, it had gone about 20 minutes or so. I didn't really look at the clock to check if I was right. I wasn't in the mood right now. Shoto came in my room to tell me that breakfast was done and continued to walk to the left, which wasn't the way to the kitchen, so I assumed he went to tell everyone else too. I sat up from my bed, changed into a hoodie with red on the top that said Shoto and black on the bottom with a pair of jeans. I walked to the kitchen to see Shoto and Uraraka sitting and waiting at the table. "Hi Deku," Uraraka said. I thought she said hi, so I just said it back. "Hey Uraraka." I saw that everyone was there except Kirishima and Denki. "Where's Denki and Kirishima?" I asked her. She looked annoyed. "Well, they are too lazy to come down here and eat breakfast," she said kind of loud as Denki and Kirishima came. "You're overreacting, Uraraka," Denki said, sitting down beside Kirishima, who sat down beside Uraraka. "Yeah right, you're the one who's too lazy to come down here to eat breakfast just because it's Saturday so we get to sleep longer in the morning." "But it's true. We have to get up at 6 or 7 in the frickin' morning from Monday to Friday," Denki complained. "Don't start a fight, your food will get cold," Shoto said. "Won't yours get cold too?" Momo asked. "Yeah, but he likes it cold," Izuku, who had already started eating since he liked his soba hot, not cold like Shoto did. Why do Uraraka started, but seeing Shoto's death stare, she cut herself off. Never mind, we should start eating before it gets too cold like Todoroki said. Time skip. An hour later Uraraka's POV. I wonder why Izuku sounded like he was sad when we were eating breakfast. Could something have happened? He has been showing less happiness the past week though, so why did he sound like that now and not a week ago when all of that started? And why is he acting like he doesn't hear us good? I thought to myself. I looked at the TV screen to see that it said that I lost on the left half of the screen and that Denki had won against me. Why didn't you start when the game started? Shoto asked, resting his back against the back of the couch. Sorry for that, I kinda zoned out, I chuckled. Did he notice what I noticed? Shoto's P. She probably noticed that Izuku sounded sad when we were eating breakfast, I thought to myself, leaning back against the back of the couch. I must have fallen asleep because the next thing I heard was Tsuyu cheering for Uraraka, who was competing against Zero in chess. Come on Uraraka. You can do it. Tsuyu cheered. Checkmate. Zero shouted. Oh come on. I was so close. Uraraka said. You know no one can win against Zero, Uraraka, Denki said. Well, it's always worth a try. I groaned and sat up, rubbing my eyes. Oh, sorry Todoroki, we didn't mean to wake you up, Karo, Tsuyu said as she noticed that I woke up. It's alright Tsu, I looked at the clock. 1 p.m., then we should make lunch by this time, I thought to myself. I stood up and walked to the kitchen where I saw Momo making something. Hello Todoroki, do you want something? She asked. I was just going to ask if I could help with making lunch for everybody, I answered. She smiled. Of course, an extra hand could be helpful right now, no one's POV everyone spent most time spending time together, Uraraka, Momo, Jiro and Hagakure went shopping, while the ones left at the dorms either played games or was sitting with their phones all day. That was until Ida told them that they should be spending time with each other since they weren't at home this weekend. After they ate dinner, some went to their rooms and some to the common room. All of them having a fun Saturday. Everybody but one, Izuku. Izuku's POV I had mostly been in my room all day until Ida told us to spend more time together, but then I mostly just sat on the couch doing pretty much nothing. I decided to go out for a bit, just like on the rooftop to look at the stars and then come back inside. I stood up and went to the door leading to the corridor, which then if you make a turn led to the stairs to the rooftop. I put my shoes on and was just going to push the door handle down when I heard Uraraka's voice from the common room. Where are you going, Deku? I put my hand down from the door handle. I'm just going outside for a bit, I said. Where? I heard Shoto ask. Just to the rooftop, I said opening the door, walking out before I heard anyone say another word. I walked up the stairs to the rooftop, sat down about a meter from the edge of the roof. I looked up to see many stars on the sky. I miss you, Tuya. I wish you were here with me right now. Maybe you'd be a hero right now if you didn't die, I thought to myself, feeling tears run down my cheeks. I pulled out my phone, turning it on and tapped on messages, went to the contact named Tuya, and texted him. Izuku happy 25th birthday Nii-chan. I miss you. Scene wait what? I looked at the message that I sent, it showed when someone had seen it, and it did it just now. But how is that possible? Nii-chan is dead. He died 11 years ago. I checked it again, but it still said that he had seen it. How could this be possible? Tuya's POV ding. It was my phone, someone had texted me. I tapped on it to see who it was. Zuzu. He had texted me saying happy 25th birthday. My face saddened. I'm sorry Zuzu. I can't text you back. I'm so sorry. A bit of BLD started to roll down my cheeks. Dabi, are you coming or not? I heard Shigaraki shout from the living room. I'm coming. Just wait a second. I shouted back, turning the phone off and laid it down on the counter, walking to the living room. Izuku's POV, did he really look at the text? No, he's dead. It must be someone who's just joking with me, I thought, pulling my knees up to my head and texting my head on my knees. I don't know exactly for how long I sat there and looking out over the city, but somehow Shoto had came without making a sound. Aizu, are you okay? He asked, sitting down beside me. I turned my head to look at him. I'm fine. I said, turning my head back to looking out over the city. Why are you crying? Did something happen? I'm just thinking about him. I said. You miss him, don't you? I nodded. I want him back like it was before he, died. Yeah, I do too. He said. I felt Shoto hug me and started to cry. Why did he have to die? I said. I don't know, Izu. Let's calm down. And go down to our dorms again, alright? I didn't hear him, but in a few minutes Shoto had managed to calm me down and we got to the dorms again. Where were you? Uraraka asked, standing up. On the roof. You were there for 3 hours. Tsuyu said. I looked at the clock and just like Tsuyu had said, it had gone 3 hours since I told them I was going to the roof. I guess I didn't look at the clock. I said, going to my dorm room. I turned on my phone and looked at the message I sent to ya. Is it really him? I mean, he's dead, but maybe. No. Stop, Izuku, he's dead and you know it. I tried to convince myself that Tuya was dead over and over again, but I couldn't stop looking at the message and thinking that Tuya wasn't dead. Time skip. 2 days later, Izuku's POV. 2 days had gone by since Tuya's birthday and I still hadn't been able to convince myself that Tuya was dead. I just couldn't accept the fact that my older brother was dead and not on this planet anymore. My classmates noticed that I was acting really weird because of my thoughts. I would always zone out in the middle of conversations. Of course, I didn't really zone out. I just said that to not make them worry. Another thing that has bothered me is that I haven't told Shoto about my thoughts. Of course, he would just say that he also misses him. Not that I hate him, but that's why I don't tell him about such thoughts. I was in class when I started thinking about it. Once again, I was told to listen more by Mr. Aizawa, even though I don't hear him at all. I was in my dorm room that evening when I realized what I could do to make my thoughts stop. What if I just search on information about Tuya? Maybe I'll get lucky and find something that could lead me to knowing if he's alive or not, I thought. And with that I started searching. It took me that whole night plus the day after for me to find just the information I needed. Here it is. I said to myself. I had searched on Google for about a day now and it did pay off. Tuya Todoroki is 𝗲𝗵𝗃. I whispered the last word to myself so no one else would have heard me. Of course. When he burned himself, nothing was left of his body, but if he really died of it, his body would have been there all burned up. I said to myself again. I changed into a white sweater and some gray pants and went to the front door to put on my shoes. Where are you going, Izuku? It was Uraraka. Just outside for a bit, I'll be back by 11 p.m., I said, opening the door and closing it after. I went outside of the building and made my way to a big abandoned 4-story house with a door to the roof where you could be. I simply climbed up the building, which took me 30 minutes because I'm not that good of a climber, but when I came up there, no one was there, so I sat down at the edge of the roof and waited. 𝗲𝗵𝗃's POV. I was hanging out with the league at some random place we found with a bar when I heard something on the wall, but ignored it for the meantime. I heard Toga say. What crazy? She smiled at me. No, I cut her off. I didn't even know what she wanted to do, but I didn't really care. Whatever sound was heard by the wall before was now at the roof. Please, I said. No, Toga. I said coldly, walking to the stairs. Where are you going, 𝗲𝗵𝗃? Shigaraki said. I'm going to the roof. Don't follow. Okay, he said, walking off to God knows where. I weighed my way up the stairs to the roof of the abandoned building. That's when I saw someone I have only seen every fight I and the league have had with the UA students, Izuku. I walked towards him. I don't think he heard me before I sat down beside him and said something. It's pretty, isn't it, the sunset? That's when he looked at me and his eyes widened as he realized who it was. Ni-chan. I heard him say. I was actually surprised. I knew that he knew I was 𝗲𝗵𝗃, but not that he knew I was his older brother, Tuya. I didn't think you would know who I really am, Izuku. I said. Is it really you, Jin? He asked. I smiled. Who else would it be, 𝗧𝗵𝗃? Who else would it be, Zuzu? Only one person had called me that before, Ni-chan. It really was him. Ni-chan, I said, hugging him tightly while crying my eyes out. He smiled. Some BLD came out of his eyes as he hugged me back. I missed you so much. I said. I couldn't control my emotions right now. I missed you too, Zuzu, he said, hugging me a bit tighter. I finally found him. After 11 years I finally found him. If Shoto found out that 𝗬𝗧 wasn't dead and was alive, he would probably want to see him almost as much as me right now. We probably stayed like this for half an hour or so before I stopped crying and yawned. All that crying had made me pretty tired. You should probably go to your dorm now, 𝗧𝗪, he said. I didn't hear him good but shaked my head in response. 𝗧𝗪, it's soon midnight. I shaked my head again. I wanted to stay like this with 𝗬𝗧 forever, no matter what. Time skip. A few weeks later, no one's POV. A few weeks had gone by and Izuku would meet 𝗬𝗧 almost every night, except on the weekends since he would be at home then. 𝗬𝗧 still wasn't comfortable with meeting the rest of his family, mostly Enji. Izuku had tried to convince him to meet at least Shoto but it didn't work. But after a week of Izuku constantly trying to convince 𝗬𝗧 to meet Shoto, he got annoyed. 𝗬𝗲's POV. A week had gone by and Izuku was constantly telling me to, at least meet Shoto. But then, I had enough, and without thinking, I said something I wish I would have never said. Will you stop trying to convince me? Every night at some point when we meet up here you ask me, please meet Shoto at least. It's getting annoying, Izuku. I'm trying to have a great time with you every night because you're the only one that I want to meet up with right now. I'm sick of this constant question repeating in my head every time I go here and meet you. Will you for once stop irritating me? I yelled without thinking. Everything went silent. Izuku just stood there shocked with tears soon running down his cheeks. I realized what I had said and my eyes widened. 𝗧𝗪 wait but it was too late. Izuku had already began running away from the building. I just stood there and watched him run away. There was no point in running after him. I hit myself on my forehead. Why would you say that 𝗬𝗧? How could you be so stupid? Saying those things to your own little brother that you have always cared for. I said to myself, hitting myself again and again on my forehead and calling myself stupid and an idiot over and over again. I went to the LOV's base and opened the door. I closed it after me. I think that my forehead had gone red because I hit myself because it would soon be pointed out. Hey 𝗬𝗲, why is your forehead so red? Toga asked, looking at me with a confused look on her face. It's nothing, now leave me alone. I said coldly, walking away. 𝗬𝗲, I'm serious this time. I stopped. Her voice sounded more serious now, so I knew she wanted answers. I hit myself. Okay. Is that enough so that I can go now? I said. Why did you hit yourself? She said loudly so that the whole LOV probably heard it, and I was right. Who did? Twice said. 𝗬𝗲 did. She sounded sad now. What mood swings? Why would you hit yourself? Shigaraki said. That is none of your business, I said. But I want to know why. Toga complained. I tried to hold my anger but it didn't work. I wasn't really the type to hold in my anger. I said something stupid to my little brother. Okay. Now leave me alone. I ran to my room and shut the door and got to my bed. I laid down on my bed and hit myself again. The minute, I yelled again. I thought. I was really just staring at my wall for God knows how long. Ugh, why do I always have to be the cause for everything? I mumbled to myself. I don't think so. I heard a voice from the other side of the bed. What do you want? I said, not being in the mood for pretty much anything except to just lay there and do nothing. So, you have a little brother? Shigaraki asked, completely ignoring my question. What's with that? Nothing, I was just wondering. Well, I said that a minute ago. He rolled his eyes. Yeah, right, it's been 3 hours since you said that. 3 hours? I had completely forgot about the time. Yeah, don't you check the time? He asked. I just forgot it this time, Krusty, I said. Stop calling me that. I gave him an irritated smile. If you stop calling me Staples, I said. Fair enough, I sat up. What's up with you and your brother anyways? He asked. Me and my little brother meet up at a building almost every night, but 1 week ago he asked me if I could reunite with our family and I said no. Then he asked if I could at least meet his twin, but I said no again. Ever since then he started to ask me the same question every time we met there. And I got irritated because of it and accidentally yelled at him for doing so. Twin. So you have 2 brothers? No, I have 3 and 1 sister, I said. Why doesn't he just take your yelling like anyone else would do? And why don't you meet the rest of your family? He asked. I guess you won't understand if I don't tell you about it then. I mumbled to myself. You know that kid that died cause of his own quirk 11 years ago? What about him? 𝐒𝐻𝐽 asked. I sighed. Well, that kid just happened to be me. Shigaraki's eyes widened. So, you're 𝗬𝗧 Todoroki. I nodded. You probably don't think I have a reason to have faked my death, but the one thing that old man have never mentioned is that me, Izuku and Shoto, were abused and Izuku and Shoto probably still are. Abused? I nodded. So that's pretty much why Izuku won't take my yelling as any other person and I hate myself for doing so. I tried to hit myself again but Shigaraki stopped me by grabbing my wrist with 4 fingers. Don't do that, you're hurting yourself. He said. Why don't you just talk to him tomorrow? He will probably not come here because I yelled at him, and I don't think Shoto would let him because he would have already came to him crying at this point, then text him, see if he answers. I looked up at him. Sometimes it's easier to meet someone by texting them instead of meeting them in person. I looked down again. Maybe, but what if he won't answer me? I'm sure he will, you're his older brother after all, I chuckled. Yeah. Time skip. In the morning Dabi's POV I woke up and looked at the clock. 8:33 a.m. I looked at my phone and saw that Izuku hadn't replied to the text I sent him yesterday. Nichan, Zuzu. I'm sorry for yesterday, I don't know what got into me. I yelled at you before thinking. I sighed. At least he looked at it. I thought, going to the living room where Toga was playing Mario Kart with Twice who was shouting because Toga beat her in the game, probably so that the whole LOV could hear them. Could you shut up? You're waking up the whole league. I said. I sat down on the couch beside Toga, which I wasn't really happy of, but I just ignored her and thought for a while before 𝗬𝗪𝗢 came and told us to eat breakfast. I wasn't really hungry but I still ate cause if I didn't 𝗬𝗪𝗢 would most likely force me to, so I would have to eat either way. After I ate I went back to the living room and laid down on the couch, my head resting on the couch armrest. I watched random videos on my phone when I heard Toga's annoying voice. It wasn't really annoying, but sometimes I just didn't want to hear her voice always asking me or anyone in the league to play with her. She is like a little kid. 𝗬𝗲𝗅. Can we play video games? She asked. No. Go ask Shigaraki or someone else. I said. But Shiggy already said no and Twice is on the balcony and smoking. And 𝗬𝗪𝗢 is washing the dishes. She complained. I simply just ignored her and continued to look at my phone. Why does no one want to play with me? She asked, sitting down on the couch looking sad. I hate when she does that. Like, she is mostly annoying and all, but when she looks all sad I can't help but to do what she wants. Toga is like a little sister to me. She's like a second version of Izuku, but a bit more annoying. I sighed. Fine, what game? I said, sitting up on the couch and putting my phone down on the table. Her face immediately lit up when she heard me say that I could play with her. Really? Yeah. What game do you want to play? She picked out a game. Mario Kart. Of course, her favorite game was Mario Kart after all. No one's POV Dabi let Toga choose the game she wanted to play and just went with whatever she wanted to do for the past 2 hours so he could then go to do whatever. Dabi's POV. Dabi, lunch is done, 𝗬𝗪𝗢 said. I'm not hungry. I said. 𝗬𝗪𝗢 sighed. It's not healthy to not eat lunch, Dabi, especially when you didn't eat much breakfast. I don't care, I'm not hungry right now. Please eat something at least, I shook my head. I'll eat later, not right now. And with that, 𝗬𝗪𝗢 left my room and closed the door, probably going to where everyone else sat and ate lunch. Just as I was going to lay down on my bed I got a notification. I looked at my phone and saw that Izuku had responded to my message. Izuku's POV before Izuku left the building. Will you stop trying to convince me? Every night at some point when we meet up here you ask me, please meet show at least. It's getting annoying, Izuku. I'm trying to have a great time with you every night because you're the only one that I want to meet up with right now. I'm sick of this constant question repeating in my head every time I go here and meet you. Will you for once stop irritating me? 𝗬𝗧 yelled. My eyes widened. I just stood there like frozen on the roof of the building with 𝗬𝗧 looking at me with wide eyes. Zuzu wait I I ran the fastest I could down all of the stairs down to the first floor, opened the door and began to run to the dorms with tears running down my face. I opened the door to our dorms and shut it close and saw Sho, who was sitting and talking about things with the 𝗧𝗪𝗏 squad and Mina. I ran straight up to him and hugged him tightly. "Are you alright? What's wrong, Izu?" He asked me. I knew Todoroki wouldn't be happy if I told Sho about him, and I didn't want to be yelled at again, so I shook my head in response. "Do you not want to talk about it?" I'm happy he understood. I don't know what I would do if he didn't. I nodded. "I understand, come on, let's sit down," Sho said. "Does anyone know what could—" I think I fell asleep, cause I only heard a part of the next conversation before I woke up on the same couch that I fell asleep on, with Sho hugging me and Tsu, Uraraka, and Ida sleeping on the chairs beside us and Mina sleeping on the other end of the couch that me and Sho wasn't on. I heard a little ding from my phone. I checked my notifications and saw that Todoroki had texted me. "Dabi, Zuzu. I'm sorry for yesterday, I don't know what got into me. I yelled at you before thinking. I knew that if I clicked on it, it would show on Todoroki's phone that I had seen it. I wasn't going to, but my hand automatically clicked on the message, so it showed the whole message he had sent. I decided to not text him back just yet, but I would do it soon to not make him worried. He was my older brother after all. Time skip. 2 p.m. Izuku's POV. After we had ate lunch, I headed to my room. I had decided that I would text Todoroki back. "Nichan. It's fine, Nichan. It's alright if you yelled at me. Always think before yelling. Warnings. Swearing." Izuku's POV. I turned off my phone and put it on my nightstand. I leaned against the wall, hoping that Todoroki had seen the text and would meet up tomorrow too. "Izu, can I come in?" I heard Shoto ask behind the door that I had closed. "Sure," I said. He opened the door and walked over to me, sat down on my bed and looked at me. "I want to know why you came in the dorms crying last night." I froze. What do I say? I can't tell him about Nichan or else I will probably get yelled at again, I thought. 𝗬𝗓𝗋. I just had an argument with a friend. I said. I hoped that he would believe my lie. But sadly I was wrong. I want to know the real reason, Izu. You don't have to lie to me, you know. I thought of other excuses to tell him why I came here crying at midnight almost. Don't bother thinking of other excuses. I can tell if you're lying or not, and you know that, right? I nodded. "So, can you tell me?" he asked. "Todoroki, I'm sorry," he sighed. "Why can't you? I'm your twin brother, Izu. I won't tell anyone else if that is the problem." "I know, but I'm scared that I will get yelled at if I do tell you why." I looked down at the floor. No offense to that person, but they sound abusive. He's not. He's very, very kind. I half yelled. And how should I believe that? When you come home from there you always looks the same like you always does. If he is kind and makes you happy you would at least have reacted that way. Shoto shouted. I don't have to do that if I don't want to show. I stood up. Shoto also stood up. Then why don't you do that, Izu? Other than not wanting to do that, I don't think you have another reason, do you? He said. I tried to keep my calm and I'm sure that he did too, but I didn't really manage to hold it in. I do have another reason, Sho. A reason that I can't tell you because he doesn't want me to. I just want to know why you came home crying, Izu, not anything else. You don't have to tell me who this person is, just what you tried making him do to make him yell at you. No. I won't tell you. I don't want him to hate me. Why would he hate you if you just told me what you were trying to make him do? He yelled. No one's POV. This continued for some time of Izuku and Shoto yelling at each other. Their classmates were getting really worried. They had never heard the twins yell at each other. Why are they yelling at each other? Mina asked. I don't know. I've never heard them yell at each other before. Tsu said. Maybe they are hurting each other. Uraraka said. Idiot, why would they do that? They're twins, Bakugo said. Maybe we should check up on them even if they don't hurt each other. Words can also hurt a person. Momo said. I agree with Momo. Hagakure said. Everyone agreed with Momo and they made their way to Izuku's dorm room. Little did they know, Uraraka was right after all. Izuku had started using his flames, so his arms were covered in them. And Shoto had began using his ice, so his arms were covered in ice. Stop. You're going to hurt each other. Uraraka said. But Izuku and Shoto didn't listen. They continued to argue with each other, completely ignoring the rest of the class. Please stop. Don't you realize that you are going to hurt each other if you don't stop? Momo said. Then an explosion appeared in front of the both of them. Will you two stop yelling? It's going to make my ears bleed for F's sake. Bakugo shouted. Everything went silent. Baku stop them. Mina asked a bit too loud for Bakugo's liking. Stop shouting in my ears, raccoon eyes. Bakugo yelled. Izuku's POV. When Bakugo made an explosion in front of me and Shoto, I remembered something, a memory that I had forgotten. Will you two stop yelling? It's going to make my ears bleed for F's sake. I had heard that before when... And why did I forget that sentence? Those questions were stuck with me for a very long time. Time skip. 2 days. Izuku's POV. I was sitting in my room, just thinking when a memory came to my mind. It was me, Shoto, and a blurry guy talking. It bothered me more than anything. I had gotten these types of memories for 3 days straight if you count this day, and every time, it showed me, Shoto, and that same blurry guy. I wanted to figure out who that was, to be able to remember who that guy is and why he is appearing as a blurry guy in my memories. But that wasn't what I wanted to do now, so I walked out of my dorm room and walked down to the kitchen to grab a glass of water. I saw Shoto, Tsuyu, Ida, and Uraraka talking beside the kitchen table. I tried to avoid them by walking to the common area instead, but as usually, this happened again. Hey Izuku. Wanna hang out? We were thinking of, Uraraka started. I don't think I want to right now. Me and Shoto didn't talk to each other for the past 2 days, so what's the point of hanging out with them anyways? Besides, it was 21:05, so what are we even supposed to do by then? I mean, go to sleep obviously, but as usual I was meeting Tuya at the roof again. At least Tuya could get me to think of other things than Shoto not talking to me. I mean, of course I didn't either, but at least I tried to. I had to wait another 1.5 hours though, since that was the time where at least Toga, Twice and that lizard thing or whatever, at least that's what he said. I walked back to my room and sat down by my desk, and did what I didn't want to do. If he's in my childhood, he couldn't have been my friend, my old man wouldn't allow that. So it has to be someone in my online class, right? I thought to myself, maybe him. I looked at a picture or another online classmate. Nope, I continued to search for longer than I thought. 23:10. I have to go to meet Tuya. I'm over half an hour late. I said, half running to the door, put on my shoes and a jacket and got out. I began running to the house that we always meet at and climbed up. When I got to the top I saw Tuya sitting by the edge, looking out over the city like he always did. Why were you late? He asked, still looking out. I got caught up in something and lost track of time. Sorry, I said. You don't have to apologize. He smiled at me. I smiled back. If you don't mind me asking, what did you get so caught up with? I thought for a second if I should tell him or not, but decided that it was better to tell him. It's about my online class, when we were younger. I have these memories that just pops up sometimes and it bothers me that I see Shoto and myself, but the third guy is all blurry. I see, well, do they pop up around a certain person or just any time? I thought for a second, then answered. Normally around Shoto and this blonde Pomeranian, that boom boy. I giggled. Why do you call him that? He smiled. Because it's funny. Anyways, I did get it today but I wasn't around anyone, I was just in my room. Pling, I had got a message from someone. I turned on my phone and looked who it was. Shoto, you sneaked out again. Izuku, so what if I did? Why do you have a problem with it? Shoto, actually yes, I do. Izuku, and why is that? Shoto, come on. Seriously, why won't you tell me who you're meeting every night? Izuku, because the person I'm meeting up with doesn't want you or anyone else to know who that is. Shoto, and why is that? Izuku, don't you understand? It's personal reasons. End of conversation. I turned off my phone and put in my pocket. Tuya looked at me. Who was texting you? Sho did. He wanted me to tell him who I was hanging out with. You didn't tell him, right? Tuya asked. I shook my head. Good. I said. I think it was obvious that something had happened with me and Shoto, cause the next thing Tuya did was to point it out. You don't seem very happy talking about Shoto anymore. Something happened, am I right? I nodded. Yeah, you're correct. I said, what happened? I sighed. You know the thing with this, who is this that you're meeting up with thing? Yeah, well, we argued about it about 2 days ago and haven't talked to each other since. Tia looked shocked, probably because he was, but he came back to normal in a few seconds. I see. Well, seems like I have to go now. See you tomorrow? See you tomorrow. Time skip. 1 day later, Izuku's POV. I got another one of those memories with the blurry guy again, but this time, I knew who he was. The boom boom boy, huh? I laughed. Izuku's POV. It's him. He's been mine and Shoto's childhood friend all this time. How did I forget? How could I have forgot? I stood up and went to my door to open it, but hesitated. He'll probably just ignore me if I try to talk to him, I thought. Instead, I walked back to my desk and sat down. Did that Pomeranian also know that I am his childhood friend, and did he just pretend that he wasn't, or had he forgotten like I did? I sighed. Why did I even think of this? It was 1 a.m. and I was sitting here trying to find something to do. Why don't I just go to bed like a normal person would have done 3 hours ago? I figured that I would at least try to fall asleep. Time skip. 5 hours later, it had toned by 5 hours. The clock was 6 a.m. and I had gotten 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds of sleep. I'm lucky that it's not school, at least I can sleep later in the afternoon or something, I thought. I sat up, went to the kitchen and got myself a glass of water, then I heard footsteps behind me. Who is it that's behind me? I asked the person behind me, pouring the water into my cup. I didn't get an answer. I turned around and saw Uraraka. Hey Deku, she said. Hi, what's up? Just wanted to say that I like you, I like you. My eyes widened. Sorry, but I don't feel the same way. I said I was surprised by how rude I sounded. Uraraka just stood there like she was frozen. That's when Shoto came to the kitchen. Good morning, Sho, I said. I knew he wasn't going to answer, but I said it anyway. Morning, he said. My widened, he was finally talking to me. Good morning, Karo, Tsu said. Good morning, Tsu. I said back. And then the day continued. However, Shoto didn't talk to me much. He just said, morning, and then barely anything more. I told this to Tuya on the phone, but didn't say his name since I didn't want to give away his name to the others, especially Shoto since his room was right beside mine. Tuya's POV, he said, morning. I asked on the phone. He didn't say much more than that to me, but I'm happy that he talked to me. Izuku said, that's great. Do you think he'll begin talking to you more? I asked. It was silent on the phone for a while. No, I don't think so, since we had a fight about. But you can tell him. I could tell he was shocked. But, it's fine, if that could make him talk to you, then do that. I said. But what if he asks to meet you? I'm sure he would. He asked. Tell him that he could come next night, not this night. That was basically the phone call. I turned off my phone, and as I did, Toga had came into my room. Who were you talking with? She said. Someone you don't need to know about. I said. Why can't I know? She said with a disappointed tone. Because if I tell you, you won't be able to keep it a secret to everyone else in the league except Tamura. I said. Shiggy knows. Why did you tell him and not me? She complained. You know why. Stop complaining, Toga. I said. Toga walked away. Izuku's POV. I knocked on the door, and when I heard Shoto say come in, I opened the door. He knew it was me cause he didn't say who it was, which he did with everyone else if they know would knock on his door. What do you want? He asked. It's about that fight we had. Shoto sat up from his bed. What about it? I tried to figure out how I could say it. About that person that I always meet up with. Shoto looked at me. Continue. So yesterday, I called him and he said that it was okay for me to tell you who it is that I'm meeting up with, and you can also come and meet him too. I said. Really? He said. It was like he almost couldn't believe me. Great, Shoto smiled. I smiled back. Maybe he would talk to me more now. Time skip. 10 hours later, Izuku's POV. I looked at the clock. It was midnight. I went to Shoto's dorm room and opened the door. Sho, come on and let's go meet him. I said. You still haven't told me who it is that we're meeting, he pointed out. I chuckled. You'll see. We made our way out of the door and began running. When we got to the house that me and 𝗬𝗧 usually met at, I began climbing up the house and Shoto followed. When we got up on the roof, I saw 𝗬𝗧 sitting and looking out over the city, like he usually does. 𝗬𝗧, I brought Shoto with me to see you, I said. Shoto's eyes widened. Geez. You don't have to expose me like that, Zuzu. 𝗬𝗧 said, standing up and turning around to look at Shoto. Shoto was still standing with wide eyes. 𝗬𝗧. 𝗬𝗧 smiled under his mask. Is it really you, 𝗬𝗧? He asked. Of course it is, who else would it be? Shoto ran up to 𝗬𝗧 and hugged him. 𝗬𝗧 hugged back. Both of them was smiling. Well, one of them was smiling under their mask. I missed you so much. Shoto said. I missed you too, Shoto. Sadly, not all good things stays forever. Time skip. 1 week 𝗬𝗧's POV. I was in the league just chilling when I decided to go out on a short walk. Of course Toga had to ask, where are you going? I answered with, just going out on a short walk. I said walking off. I put on my mask and a hoodie. While I was just walking, I saw a couple of those hero students walking around. Just to be safe, I went another way to not be seen. I looked at the clock. 23:50. I have to meet up with Zuzu and Shoto in 10 minutes. But then I would have to go through the heroes. And what could possibly go wrong? I mean, I have a mask and a hoodie. Who recognizes someone by that? Little did I know, that was going to be a mistake I was going to regret. I walked through the people. The heroes was right behind me, but they didn't seem to pay attention at the front, so I was fine. Suddenly my hood got pulled off. I quickly put it on again, hoping no one had seen it. I continued my way to the rooftop and waited there. Uraraka's POV. While we were shopping, I saw someone's hood get pulled off. The person quickly put his hood on, but I had recognized him. Guys, I'm just going over there for a minute. I have to check something, said, following the man who got his hood pulled off. I followed him up to a rooftop, and that's when I used my zero gravity on him. He started to levitate. 𝗬𝗧's POV. What do you want? I asked. I knew who it was. You always meet up with someone here, don't you? She asked. I was silent. I wasn't going to say anything about Zuzu and Shoto. Might his name be Izuku Todoroki? My eyes widened. She knew, but how? Zuzu would never tell someone that he is meeting up with me without permission. You probably figured out that Izuku didn't tell me about you. I figured it out myself. I followed Izuku here one time. She was worse than Toga at this point. He's going to be mine now that you're out of the way. She laughed. Now she was almost like a copy of Toga. Then I saw Izuku and Shoto running here, probably because they thought they would get here late. When they got up on the rooftop, they saw her and me on the roof. Uraraka, what are you doing here? He asked. Uraraka laughed. If you want him to live, you have to stop meeting up with him. She said. I started to levitate even more now, and when I looked down, the ground was about 10-20 meters away. Shoto was about to run and tackle Uraraka. One step and he's falling to the ground. Uraraka said, how am I supposed to get down now? I thought to myself, why are you doing this, Uraraka? Izuku asked. It's for your own safety. Uraraka said. This is the opposite of safety. Shoto said. Then stop meeting up with him and I'll let him go without getting hurt. She said. I can't do that. Izuku said. Fine, but you have to let him go now. Shoto said. Just one thing. Uraraka started. I never said where I was going to let go. Uraraka made her fingers touch, and a second later, everything was black. Izuku's POV. I never said where I was going to let him go, Uraraka said as her fingers touched and 𝗬𝗧 fell to the ground. I ran to the edge as fast as I could and jumped down. Uraraka ran away laughing. 𝗬𝗧, 𝗬𝗧. I shouted, but I didn't get an answer. 𝗬𝗧's back head started to bleed. I did the only thing that could save him. I took his phone out of his pocket. I opened his phone and went to contacts. I clicked on the contact name, Tamura. 𝗬𝗧 had told me about him before, Shigaraki Tamura. He knew about me and 𝗬𝗧 meeting up here, and he also knew the location. Hey, please come to the place where 𝗬𝗧 usually is. You know about him always meeting me at a certain rooftop, and you know the location, right? I said, crying. Shoto had came down now and was sitting beside me. Hey, calm down, there's no time for that. 𝗬𝗧's injured badly. It became silent on the phone and I heard a door open and close. How badly injured is he? He asked. I could hardly talk while crying. The phone call ended. A second later Shigaraki came. His eyes widened when he saw 𝗬𝗧 unconscious and bleeding from the head. He crouched down to check if he was still breathing. We're going to the league, he said. It was obvious that he was on the verge of crying, but since he was the leader of the League of Villains, I could see why you wouldn't want anyone seeing you cry. Time skip. 2 hours later, Tomura's POV me, Izuku and Shoto was sitting in the living room. I had bandaged 𝗬𝗧's head and had checked for other injuries that he could have gotten. Toga was doing her best to try to comfort Izuku since he was still crying. Moments later Izuku had fallen asleep, probably because of all the crying but also because he was tired, since the clock was 2:15. Shouldn't you two get back to the dorms? I asked. It's fine, I'll just tell them that we were at our house instead of the dorms if they ask. Shoto said. Alright, I said. Time skip. In the morning, Izuku's POV, I woke up beside Shoto. He was still sleeping and I had a slight headache, probably from all that crying. I guess we had gotten a guest room since this one had nothing but a bed, a wardrobe, a nightstand, and a bathroom. It was pretty good for being an abandoned house though. I went out of the room and looked around. I walked to what seemed to be the living room. Toga was sitting on the couch. She looked at me. Finally, someone is awake, she said happily. I said. You never told us what happened, Toga said. About what? I asked. You never told us how 𝗲𝗵𝗃 got injured. Besides, why do you care about 𝗲𝗵𝗃? Are you two related? Toga asked. Well, to answer your first question. Someone came and threatened me and Shoto not meet up with him anymore or else they'd let him fall to the ground. Even when we agreed that we would stop meeting up with him, she let him fall to the ground and I stopped talking. I see, and my other question. Right. So, 𝗬𝗧 is my and Shoto's older brother. Toga's eyes widened. Really? I nodded. That actually explains why you would run after him when we were attacking you all. I nodded again. Yeah, we took that opportunity to talk for a bit. Of course I had to fake my injuries so that they would think that we actually fought. I chuckled. I was always begging 𝗲𝗵𝗃 to tell me why you were meeting up after I found out that your scars were fake. I laughed. See, now you're happy again. Toga said. I chuckled. I never knew you were so good at cheering people up. I said. Toga smiled. Just one of the things I can do in the league that nobody else can do, except sometimes. Toga pointed out. Shoto came into the living room. Good morning, I said. Good morning, what are you two doing? He asked. Just talking. I said. Oh, okay. Wanna join us? Toga asked. Sure. 𝗲𝗏 sat down on the couch beside me. I never knew Toga could be this friendly. Normally she would appear as a crazy vampire who always wants someone's BLD, but now she seems like a really nice person. Time skip. 2.5 weeks later, Izuku's POV. It had gone 2.5 weeks since 𝗬𝗧 got injured. I continued to go to school, though, unfortunate for me, my friends noticed that I had gotten more sadder the more the time goes. That would be because 𝗬𝗧 had shown no sign of waking up yet. Even though I wanted to tell Mr. Aizawa what Uraraka had done, I didn't want her to hurt me if I did, so I stayed quiet. But from here it got worse. I was walking home with Sho on a Friday. We were going home this weekend to say hi to our siblings and spend some time with them. Though that's not what it turned out to be this time. Your teacher said that some of your classmates had seen you walk out at night. Is this true? Why would it matter to you, old man? I said. Don't call me that. Shut up. Shoto said. Go and start training now, Enji said. Whatever. We went to the room we always were in when we trained. Though, since the thing with 𝗬𝗧 not waking up after almost 3 weeks, I wasn't really in my best form, so I couldn't really focus. Of course, this meant shouting and yelling from my old man. Haven't you trained anything? Train more. The next thing he did shocked both me and Shoto. Enji punched me in my stomach. It wasn't just one. Of course he had to punch more than once. I fell backwards, hitting the wall with my back and head. I slid down to sitting against the wall, coughing. Shoto crouched down beside me. Fuyumi and Natsuo came running. probably 'cause they heard my head hitting the wall. 𝗵𝗲𝗻𝗲 crouched down beside me. "Are you okay, Izuku?" she asked, worried that I wouldn't be okay. I continued to couch until I saw something red come up my throat. "BLD," I said. I coughed up more BLD. Until I passed out. I woke up in mine and Shoto's room. I could see 𝗵𝗲𝗻𝗲 sitting and waiting. "Yumi, where is Sho?" I asked. My voice was pretty hoarse after coughing so much. 𝗵𝗲𝗻𝗲 gave me a glass of water. I took the flask of water and drank it. "Thank you," I said. I could hear yelling from outside my and Shoto's room. "What's that?" I asked. 𝗵𝗲𝗻𝗲 sighed. "Shoto and Natsuo is arguing with Dad about what happened," she said. I got up and walked out. I wanted to see what was happening, and if my old man was hurting anyone else. "Shut up. Nothing that you say is true. He is trained very much." Shoto yelled. "You think I'm going to believe that? If he's trained, he should have been able. Do you only care if he's training to not? What if something happened with Izuku and Shoto that is making him not able to do much?" Natsuo yelled. 𝗧𝗵𝗲𝗏. And did it stop there? What could have possibly gotten worse? Bullying from Uraraka. Shoto's POV. "I'm sick and tired of this Uraraka bullying Aizu, my old man hurting Aizu, Todoroki not waking up. All of this had gotten to Izuku and now he's turned out like he was when he heard that Todoroki had died. It had gotten to the point where Toga, who can always cheer someone up, couldn't even cheer Izuku up anymore. He only smiled and then walked away, clearly had faked his smile. Why can't I cheer him up anymore? I used to be able to make anyone in the league smile and cheer up. Toga said. "Right, I haven't told you guys yet." I said. "Izuku is getting bullied." "By who?" Toga asked. "Uraraka, the same idiot who injured Todoroki." I said. "What? But what is she doing that's making him like this?" Shigaraki asked. "That might not just be the only thing that someone is doing to Aizu right now," I said. "Then what is it?" "I'm sorry, but I can't tell you," I said. "Please," Toga said. "Look, I really can't tell you this. It is personal things, all right." Toga looked down. I sighed. "All right, fine." I said. "My old man is abusing me and Aizu. Mostly Aizu though. That old man is doing what?" I heard a voice that I recognized very well. Todoroki's POV. I woke up in my room. I had a bad headache from falling from that building. I sat up and noticed that Tomura sat by the end of my bed. Tomura," I said. Tomura looked at me and let out a sigh of relief. "Thank God you're okay. I was worried you'd die," he said. I let out a chuckle. "Where is Zuzu and Sho?" I asked. "Well, Shoto is in the living room and Izuku. I haven't seen him since 2 days ago." I said. "He hasn't been here at all." "No, he has, but I guess he thought it was better for him to go somewhere else since it was meaningless to wait here when you've been unconscious for over 1.5 months now." My eyes widened. "What? Where is he now?" I asked. "I just said that I haven't seen him for 2 days. How would I know, dumbass?" He said. "I don't know, maybe Shoto would have told you." I said. "Well, no, he hasn't said anything to me about where he have been, but you could ask him." I stood up. My head hurt and I stopped for a second, but I didn't really care, so I made my way to the living room with Tomura following me to make sure I was all right. Though what I heard when I came there made me shocked and angry. "My old man is abusing me and Aizu. Mostly Aizu though," Shoto said. My eyes widened. "That old man is doing what?" I almost yelled. Shoto swiftly turned his head to me as he probably recognized my voice. The door opened and Izuku came in, just at the right time to see me. His eyes widened. "Todoroki." I gave him a warm smile. His eyes filled with tears as he ran to me and hugged me. It didn't take long for Shoto to do the same thing. And there we stood, hugging each other as my 2 little brothers were crying. Tomura smiled, knowing he wouldn't have to take care of the 2 anymore. I guess while I was unconscious he had to take care of them every time they came here after school or on the weekends. "So, what have you 2 been up to while I was unconscious?" I asked. Izuku and Shoto looked down. "Well, Uraraka's POV. When they're at the rooftop my fingers touched and Dabi fell to the ground. Izuku jumped down to check if he was doing all right and Shoto came shortly after. I laughed and made myself float down, away from 𝗬𝗲𝗍, Izuku and Shoto. I ran all the way back to 𝐬𝐽. It took a while. When I arrived, I went back to my dorm. I would have to wait for about a month before telling someone so that they would believe me a bit more. Time skip. A month later, Uraraka's POV. I woke up and got out of bed, putting on new clothes and going out to the others in the kitchen. I had to wait until after lunch to make my plan of getting Izuku and Shoto expelled to work. When lunch came, I waited another 2 hours before leaving our dorms and went to our teacher's office. 𝗧𝗵𝗲. I knocked on the door. When I heard a come in, I opened the door and walked inside. "What do you want, Uraraka?" he asked. This was my chance to at least get Izuku expelled from 𝐬𝐽. I wanted to tell you something that 2 of my classmates did a month ago. Mr. Aizawa raised an eyebrow. Continue. About 1 month ago night, me and the other girls in 1A except Mina and Sue was outside taking a walk when I noticed a villain in a hoodie and a mask walking somewhere, so I followed them and they went to a rooftop. Then I saw that it was 𝗬𝗲𝗍, so I asked him what he was doing on an abandoned house rooftop, but he wouldn't answer me. But after a minute, Izuku and Shoto came to the rooftop and said that they were hanging out with him, and then they threatened to hurt me if I told anyone, so I waited for a month and hoped that they had forgotten. I lied. Obviously that wasn't what really happened. But that's my only way to getting them expelled. I will talk to the other teachers about this. In the meanwhile, you can go back to the dorms, he said. All right, I said and walked out of the office smirking. My plan might have just worked. Izuku's POV. I woke up in the couch, leaning on 𝗬𝗧. I guess I might have fallen asleep here while watching that movie instead of the guest room. I stood up and went to grab a paper and a pen where I wrote a letter to 𝗬𝗧 saying that we went to our dormitory so he wouldn't be worried for us. I went back to the couch, placed the letter down and woke Shoto up. Wake up, I said. Mate, what is it? Shoto said sleepily. We have to get to the dorms, now come on. What about 𝗬𝗧? Won't he be worried? Shoto asked. I wrote him a letter, don't worry. I said. All right. And with that, we were off to the dormitory. Little did we know, the next thing we were told wasn't really the best thing. Shoto's POV. When we arrived back at 𝐬𝐽, I saw our whole class, along with Aizawa and the other teachers, even All Might standing in front of us. We walked up to them and stopped 2 meters away from them. What is this all about? I was cut off by Mr. Aizawa, who looked pissed. One of your classmates told me about what you 2 did a month ago. He started. They said that you 2 met up with a villain, 𝗬𝗲𝗍 to be exact, and threatened to hurt them if they told someone about this. Me and Izuku knew exactly who it was, Uraraka. So, could you tell us where you were on that night a month ago? Me and Aizu were hanging out with each other. I said. Aizawa looked at us. Could you tell us the truth? Izuku closed his eyes for a second, before opening them again and speaking up. We were hanging out with our oldest brother, Uraraka spoke up. But Todoroki died 11 years ago due to his own quirk. You shouldn't have said that, Uraraka. Izuku snapped. 𝗬𝗧 is not dead. He is alive right now. Izuku yelled. Everyone was shocked. They had never seen Izuku snap before, other than that one time at Bakugo. I give you one more chance for you to tell us. Where were you? Mr. Aizawa asked. Izuku had to calm himself down so he wouldn't start yelling and asked. Do you want me to call him and ask him if he can come here? Is that gonna be enough proof? Izuku tried to stay calm for as much as possible. Aizawa sighed. Go ahead, but if he causes any damage to any of the people here, you 2 are expelled from 𝐬𝐽. All right. Izuku said as he turned on his phone and called 𝗬𝗧. Izuku's POV. I turned on my phone and went through my contacts and pressed on 𝗬𝗧. I put it on speaker and it rang for a while before he picked up. 𝗬𝗧's POV. I was just done showering when my phone rang. I had read the letter that Izuku left me, saying that they went back to 𝐬𝐽. I looked for my phone and saw that it was on the table. I grabbed it and looked at who it was. Zuzu. What could he want? Shouldn't he be at 𝐬𝐽 by now? I thought. Who is it? I heard Tamura's voice behind me. He walked up to me. It's just Zuzu, though I wonder what he wants. Tamura nodded. I answered the phone and put it to my ear. What do you want, Zuzu? I asked. I could hear the irritation in his voice when he spoke to me. To put it short, one of my classmates told my teacher that me and Sho met up with this villain named 𝗬𝗲𝗍, and me and Shoto said that we hung out with you, so I just need you to come here to prove that you're alive and not dead. He said, "You mean right now?" I asked, looking at Tomura. I knew that he would want to follow me there, so it was better to ask him rather than ignore it. "Yes, right now," he said. "Do I have time to dye my hair or—" "No, just come here for God's sake." "Geez, calm down, alright. Can Tomura come too?" I asked. It took a while for him to respond. "Yeah, sure, just don't hurt anyone." And then the call ended. Izuku's POV Tuya answered. "What do you want, Zuzu?" he asked. I tried my best to hide the irritation in my voice but failed. To put it short, one of my classmates told my teacher that me and Shoto met up with this villain named 𝗬𝗲𝗏, and me and Shoto said that we hung out with you, so I just need you to come here to prove that you're alive and not dead. I said, "You mean right now?" He asked. "Yes, right now," I said. "Do I have time to dye my hair or—" I cut him off. "No, just come here for God's sake." "Geez, calm down, alright. Can Tomura come too?" To asked. I looked at Aizawa and responded a while after. "Yeah, sure, just don't hurt anyone." I hung up. It took about 10 minutes until Tuya and Tomura came. Tuya walked up to me and looked at the teachers with a not-so-happy look. Tomura stood beside Tuya. Everyone's eyes widened. "Your brother is a villain," Uraraka shouted.